It's time to cook with Susan Beck. Well, today we're going to look at some butternut squash. These golden colored ones are butternut, tall and kind of oval shaped compared to the acorn squash that I posted a video for, maybe 2 weeks ago, where I just cut these in half, scoop out the seeds, and we eat them right out of the shell. Well, these great big ones, first of all, are going to serve, more like 6 people, not 2 people. And I'm going to turn these into more of like a casserole, like in a baking dish. But first, I need to cook these up. I am going to make sure they're well scrubbed. I've already done that. I've taken them to the sink and scrubbed them off using my potato vegetable scrubber. And I also want my oven going. I've got it set at 400 degrees. I want my knife to be, should be able to poke into it really, really easily. All the orange flesh inside should be pretty soft. So when I do this kind, I usually just put the whole acorn squash into the oven. This is actually a really large one. It's my last one I have left. But a lot of them are a little smaller and they cook just fine, like I would a baked potato. But these butternut ones, I usually go ahead and cut them apart using a large knife. From the other direction here. And there we go. And inside I've got all these seeds that we'll be scooping out in just a moment, because we're not going to eat the seeds. We're not going to eat the stringy part next to the seeds. We're just going to eat this nice orange fleshy part. So I have a little bowl here that I'm going to scoop all those seeds out. And I'm just using a big metal spoon. And I'm going to just remove all of those. Kind of like you do when you carve a pumpkin and you want to get rid of the guts and the seeds. So I'm kind of scraping right into that orange flesh because I want to get rid of the strings as well. After it bakes, we'll get rid of the shell, but this will separate much better if we bake it first. Here's a little bit of a close-up. So we've got strings and seeds in there that we're just going to scoop out by just using that sharper kind of edge of the spoon, like a little wedge there. And I'm just gonna scrape right into the part that we would normally eat a little bit, and it's okay to get rid of a little of that. All right, it's time to bake these. I'm going to put some water in the bottom of my baking dish here. It's not necessarily needed, but I just think a little moisture kind of helps to cook these. And then I'm just gonna put them edible side down, I guess, and the shell side up. The side they're done, that my knife goes right through that, and it's just nice and soft. Not quite so, right now I have to put a little force against it to get my knife to insert. So, simple, simple, simple. Just put it in the oven and leave it for a while. Well, these are probably a little more done than I usually get them. They don't have to be scorched there, but when I flip them over, look at how nice and bright orange that is. And my butter knife, not a sharp knife, goes in so easily. Okay, so we want to scoop that nice orange squash flesh out of there and into a bowl that we can mix with. Whether you mix with a hand mixer or a big stand mixer, it doesn't make any difference. Now this is a little bit warm, so I sometimes like to use my pot holders. I do have a cutting board. I could set it down on here and scoop or hold it up. Now something I noticed, I have one little seed in there. I don't want that seed in my final product. So again, it's just gonna scoop out so easily due to the fact that we have cooked it so long. And it really means it's all tender all the way to that skin. So we're not gonna have a whole lot of waste here. Now I am doing this today with butternut squash. The last time I did this, I did it with Buttercup squash. And as I've mentioned, please check out my video for acorn squash. Now acorn squash could be done the same way and beaten when you're finished, or I like to just leave it in the halves and put the brown sugar and butter right in the half, and then I just serve that half a shell right on the dinner plate along with whatever else I'm serving this with. All right, squash is like a go-to food, that's just like a must at Thanksgiving, but we also freeze this and eat it at other times of the year. It's just a good accompaniment to any kind of meat, whether you're having a ham dinner, a turkey dinner, a pork chop dinner. It works nicely with all of those. Okay, I'm gonna hold this up as best I can. So as you can see, I've just got this skin left. That's all that remains. And we'll put the rest of that into the bowl. So I'm just gonna continue cleaning out these shells. I mean, they're just almost falling apart. All right, and I just scoop that out. No, I see a little bit of shell. I don't want that piece. And I just put that over into my bowl. And I will continue removing this, making sure again that I'm keeping the shell behind and just getting the fleshy orange part. All right, so one more little chunk here. Now this is called winter squash. Unlike yellow squash and zucchini that you grow in the garden in the summer and you really eat in the summer, those are your summer squash. Those have a much softer skin. These become very hard and you don't pick them until fall, and they're called winter squash more so because you can eat them all winter. You don't have to cook these all up right away. You can just leave them for months in the shell and then just cook them as you want them. Or you can cook a whole bunch at one time and then just freeze it ready to go. Now when I freeze it, and I do have this hot pan in my way, when I freeze it, I do usually freeze it with our brown sugar and our butter already mixed in. So that's our next step. We're gonna move this over to our stand mixer. We will be using our flat attachment here, our beater attachment, same one I would use to make cookies. And into there, now my family likes it sweet, I'm probably gonna put, oh, I hate to even put that much in. I'm gonna start with more like 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And then I'm going to put in about 1/2 stick of butter. You can decide if you want butter or margarine. I'm gonna cut that up a little bit into some smaller pieces. And I like to do this when my squash is still hot. I know it was a little harder to scoop out. You know, you have to be a little more careful, but the butter melts better, the brown sugar melts better, and it just all comes together much more smoothly and not so clumpy and stuff if you do this all while it's hot. Oh yeah, that's time to mix. You just want a nice smooth consistency, and like I said, that butter will melt in there, that brown sugar will melt in there. Let's wipe down the sides of that a little bit, making sure that all of our squash is getting mixed in and nice and smooth. And then while we're at it, let's give it a taste. Now I think it's just fine, but my family always likes it sweeter, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in the rest of that. I had about 1/3 of a cup, make it closer to 1/2 cup. So let's mix that in. And then we're gonna put it into a baking dish. That is some tasty squash. Now I'm making this ahead. We're going to have this with our dinner tomorrow, but this is a lot of work on the day, especially Thanksgiving Day, when you're cooking the big bird and all the stuffing and everything, and it's just too much going on in the oven and too much happening. So I like to just get it all made up ahead. I'm just gonna put it into this little casserole dish, and I'll just cover it with some foil, put it into the refrigerator, and tomorrow when we're ready to start warming it up, it'll heat up fantastic. All right, I've got my squash ready for our big dinner. If you freeze your squash first, then just set it out to thaw on a refrigerator shelf or even on the counter briefly, and then put it into your casserole and warm it up. This will take 20 to 30 minutes to heat up tomorrow to a temperature that would be suitable for serving. Let's give it one last taste. It's just smooth and sweet, and the butter just helps to make it all kind of come together. And so this is butternut squash.